Being told that you are a fake natty as a natural lifter has to be the best compliment that you could ever get. And part of that, I believe, is from being so wide that for once in your life, your length is just not laughed at. Now let's go through some of my favorite back exercises to make us look like that upside down Dorito that we so want to be. Now, number one might be a bit of a hot take here, but when I like to train my back, I like to train the whole back. That includes the lower back. I like to do a 45-degree hyperextension in the beginning of my workout. It kind of acts as like a bit of a warm-up when I do it without weight. But having a strong lower back is gonna help you so much in life. Think about how many times you bend over. Do you want to bend over and pop a vertebrae out of your back when you go to tie your shoes? I don't think you do. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You set it so the pads are just about at the top of your hip flexors here, and then you keep your legs straight. I like to have my hands kind of wrapped in front of me here. We're gonna keep our back straight, though we're not gonna round it. I like to add just a little bit of flexion in the spine because I believe that moving in all planes, allowing that back to round and flex a little bit, at least without weight, is good for it. So we're gonna do 2 warm-up sets with that without any weight, roughly about 12 to 15 reps. And then I'm gonna do 2 sets with weight for about the same amount of reps. So I know a lot of people always get really nervous when they do a lot of lower back stuff with weight, but it's honestly so good for your lower back. As long as you can get the form and technique right. There's a lot of bad form that can come about with the weight. If you take your time and learn it, you're gonna be fine. Have you ever seen the Chinese weightlifters? Their lower backs are huge. They're like their own little canals on there. It's so impressive. All right, first exercise done. Now we're gonna move on to some rows. Now the seated row is one of the best overall exercises for just pure width and size within your back, at least in my opinion. The only difference here is that we're going to exaggerate or extend the range of motion. And you're going to extend forward, get that big stretch in our lats and our back here, and then control coming all the way up, squeeze and squeeze those shoulder blades, control it all the way back again, and then control yourself back. You'll notice I'm not out here and then pulling back with my back like that. I'm not using my back as like a slingshot and yanking myself back. I'm keeping control. I'm keeping it slow. I used to always have issues with like really feeling my back during my workouts. I always felt my biceps taking over like far before my back ever got tired. And I know you probably heard it, and it's very typical and cliche, but dropping the weight down and really just thinking about what it is that you're using. Think about your elbows are being pulled behind you like someone has a string on them and they're pulling your elbows at the same time back. At least in my head, that's helped me a lot with connecting with my back on like what it is I'm supposed to be using, rather than just being like, I want to show how much I can lift. Let me just crank these out really quick and then my arms get a good pump and my back stays small. Nobody wants that. Also, this is another reason why I like to warm up and start with those hyperextensions. For stuff like this, it activates your lower back already along with your core and keeps it strong so that when you do stuff like this, you don't have any back pain. Think harder, not smart. Wait. Well, this isn't an angle I'm used to seeing. All right, I'm on my second working set. I'm doing 3 working sets total, so I have 1 more after this. Trying to get anywhere between 10 to 12 reps. Okay. Ow. I've destroyed my hands. There's nothing worse than trying to work out when your nose is running. Something about it just sucks the fun out of all of it.
Now, I don't blame you for not wanting to take advice from somebody who can't even reach the adjustment on their own. If you say one thing about my height,
Exercise 3, and along with that comes tip number 3, unless you're not into that kind of stuff. Lat pull downs are very similar to rows for me. Like I said earlier, I always had a hard time feeling it in my back. I felt it a lot in my arms. And the only cue that I really ever found that kind of helped me was making sure that my arms were close to my body, and I thought about taking my elbows and trying to touch my pockets. I don't know what it is with me and my elbows. I must have some kind of fetish or something. If I kept my arms tucked in, led with my elbows down to my pockets, I was able to properly engage my lats a lot better than if I was just get on here and just try and yank the thing down and back behind me. I use straps because I'm trying to maximize the most amount of weight that I can possibly move in this exercise, and my little tiny baby hands just cannot keep up with that weight. Much like with the rows, we're going for 3 working sets here. Same thing, about 10 to 12 reps. Also exaggerating the stretch on the way up and emphasizing a squeeze on the bottom, so we're not rowing and throwing ourselves around in this movement. Another key thing to when it comes to building just a massive back, actually not even just a back, when just building muscle in general, is that you need to have a level of intensity in your workouts that forces and promotes muscle growth. That means you need to take most of your sets close to failure, 9, sometimes even to failure, to like 10 out of 10s. You need to lift heavy, you need to lift intense. If you plan to get 12 reps, right? And you get those 12 reps and you're like, all right, I got 12 and I stop. But there's more in the tank. Why would you not keep going? If you can make it to 15, do 15. If you can make it to 15, that means the weight needs to be heavier. And then you bump that weight up. And then so on and so forth. You need to train heavy, damn it. On our last set here, we're gonna add a drop set to this. Now, I don't do drop sets in terms of like a lot of drop sets. That's kind of like junk volume to me. I'm only gonna do one. I'm gonna take the pin from where it is and drop it like 2 layers down to like 20 pounds less. In my opinion, having 2 really good intense sets to failure are gonna be so much better than having like 1 set to failure than a bunch of just like junk volume where it's very light and you just kind of do the reps for rep. Oh, okay, dropping the weight down. Oh my God. That's stuff even your grandma would feel. What is this stuff? How are you taller than me? We're taking a break from a little bit of the main back stuff and now we're doing some rear delt stuff. Now it's up to you. Some people like to do rear delts on shoulder days. Some like to do it on back days. I like to do mine on back days. That's just works best with my head. We're going to do some cable reverse flies. Now this is the one exercise where I have the exception of how I typically say you want to lift heavy and intense. You still want to lift intense, but you want to lift lighter on these. Only because the heavier that you lift with these, the worse that your form is going to get because they're so like specific in like fine new in terms of like the muscle that you're working, and it's so much easier to go light and stay controlled rather than do some heavy weight and then just your form is just absolute crap because you're in a weird position trying to move around a lot of weight that we just can't handle. So go light, go slow, feel the contraction, and grow just some massive rear delts. Having the nice rear delts not only is good for having really 3D looking shoulders, but it helps with your back widthness as well. Did you see that ghost come and push me? See, it doesn't need to be massive to do a lot of damage or make you feel it. Small things, you can feel small things too. Remember that, guys. Okay, so that's pretty much all that we're going to do today for strictly the back. I do have 2 pull days like throughout a week. So this is my second one for the week. I did one earlier in the week, so I am hitting back twice within a week. But we're just going to finish out the workout with a little bit of arms. We're going to do some curls and then some shrugs, and then I am out of here. It's almost 9:30 in this place. I should have been in bed like an hour ago. Final tip of the day is protein. Gotta make sure that if you want to build a lot of muscles, you want to build big muscles, that you gotta be hitting your protein goals. Now, whatever that is for you, it's going to vary depending on person to person. You can kind of figure that out yourself. But the 2 most important things to building muscle are having an stimulus to cause muscle growth, which means weightlifting and heavy in intensity, and protein. Having enough protein within your diet to promote that muscle growth as well. So I'm finished with my workout. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna have this protein shake and probably some yogurt when I get home to make sure that I get my protein numbers. And then I'm probably just gonna sit awake all night in my bed staring at the wall because I've eaten far too late for myself, and I'm gonna have the weirdest dreams if I go to sleep. So I'm just gonna sit there and stare at the wall and then hope that, I don't know, the fairy comes and sprinkles some dust on my, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just gonna go home. Thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate you. And if you want to see more of these, please let me know. Talk to you later. Toodles!